أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء وسيد المرسلين وحبيب إله العالمين أبي القاسم محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين منتجبين المنتخبين المظلومين الغرر الميامين سيما بقية الله في الأراضين وهجته للخلائق أجمعين سيدنا وإمام زماننا وصاحب نعمتنا وولي الأمرنا مهدي هذه الأمة وطؤوس أهل الجنة على حجة ابن الحسن العسكري فداه وأرواح العالمين. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Dear viewers, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Inshallah, I'm coming with you today with a very important topic that I feel should be discussed. But to start off, we are coming at here live by the shrines of Abul Fadl al-Abbas and the shrines of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. Alhamdulillah, it is an honor for myself to be able to record here at Imam Hussein TV3, and I feel very honored and privileged that they have given me an opportunity here to speak. I'll be giving a few different types of speeches today, mainly 25 minutes each, but the first one that I feel that I should discuss is about Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam. Inshallah, we will delve a little bit upon his life. We will talk a little bit about what he did in terms of reforming the religion when he came into the city of Makkah and then into the city of Medina. But mainly, since we are close to the shahadat of Rasulullah, we will mention the last, let's say, 3 to 4 years at the end of Rasulullah's life, and we will try and discuss what happened. Because Rasulullah said, no prophet has gone through, or no prophet has been through as many trials and tribulations as I have been through. So inshallah, we will discuss this today. So we begin by saying that Rasulullah came towards the city of Makkah. And at that time, as the ignorance era known as Jahiliyyah, it was a time where the Arabs were set in their ways. They were worshipping idols, they were burying their daughters alive, they were doing these type of things, and Rasulullah was sent there now to bring a reform in such a way that within the city of Makkah, the Prophet wasn't very strict. It was only within the city of Medina that Rasulullah started openly saying, these are the laws of Islam, you have to pray, you have to fast. But first he was beginning by saying that I want you to come towards the religion of Islam. And there's a misconception that they say that the religion of Islam was spread by the sword. Let's remove that misconception. Let's talk a little bit about how did Rasulullah in fact spread this religion, how did he implement this religion, and how did he bring the reform within the ignorance era of the Arabs within the Hijaz region. So we see that Rasulullah, before even announcing his prophethood, before even mentioning that he was a prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we start off by removing one misconception. That first misconception is that certain individuals say that Rasulullah did not know that he was going to be a prophet, and when he reached the age of 40, all of a sudden he seen Jibreel and he was scared, and they go on by saying a few other things. This we deny straight away. For we use Hadith al-Qisa, in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, I created everything out of the love of the 5 that were present. We are very adamant in our belief that Rasulullah himself said that the first thing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created was my light. So we don't have this issue, we don't have this, let's just say, this dispute within our school of thought nonetheless, that Rasulullah did not know he was going to be a prophet and then later on he became a prophet. We say that from the very onset of his creation, he was a prophet. So from there we see that Rasulullah was known as Sadiq and Amin, the trustworthy and the truthful. Now he had to establish this, because if Rasulullah was one day to say that I am a prophet of God, the people, he did not want to give them an opportunity where they could turn around and say, a few years ago we seen you doing this, or a few years ago we seen you doing that. So from the very onset, Rasulullah was very honest, to the extent that we have on the night of migration, when Rasulullah was leaving the city of Makkah going towards the city of Medina, we see that Rasulullah said to Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam, "O Ali," after designating Amir al-Mu'mineen to sleep within his bed to aid his escape, Rasulullah said, "O Ali, certain people within Makkah, our enemies, have given me their trusts. O Ali, in the morning return these trusts back to those people and then meet me along the journey." So we see that even though these people were the enemies of Rasulullah, even though these people wanted to kill Rasulullah, yet they still knew that in terms of being honest and trustworthy, Rasulullah would never ever be in a situation where he would not fulfill his duties. So Rasulullah would leave, or the people would leave their belongings with Rasulullah, and he would then be in such a way that we would say, Amirul Mu'mineen, I want you to return these items back to the people, and then I want you to meet me along the journey. So from the very onset we understand that Rasulullah established that he was trustworthy, that he was honest, that he was in such a way that he was establishing his religion. And he was very kind. Now let's talk about his kindness. I mean, Rasulullah, to start off with, the Quran says, وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا رَحْمَةً لِلْعَالَمِينَ. He was sent as a mercy upon mankind. Rasulullah was sent as a mercy upon mankind. Let's look at what he did. For example, when the Prophet went to the city of Taif, and he went there to preach the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the people of Taif hurled stones upon the Prophet. The people began to injure the Prophet to the extent that blood began to flow from the Prophet's sacred body wherever the stones touched him. Yet Jibreel came down to Rasulullah, and Jibreel said to the Prophet that Allah has ordered that you say the word, and Allah will crush these two mountains together and He will destroy everybody within the vicinity. Yet Rasulullah came as Rahmatan lil Alameen, he came as a mercy towards the worlds. So what was his reply? He said, no Jibreel, I do not want Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to do this. In fact, I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive these people and guide them to the right path. This is what Rahmatan lil Alameen means. There's a very famous story that once an old woman was traveling from one destination to the other, and the Prophet was going to accompany this woman. Now throughout this journey, this woman on a repetitive state would keep saying that, oh young man, I will allow you to accompany me on my journey, just don't talk about this man called Mohammed. He's corrupted the youth, he's bought this, he's a magician, he's corrupting our ideology, he's corrupting our religion, he's a very bad person. Yet Rasulullah didn't exactly turn around and say to this woman that no, what you're talking about is wrong, I am that person you are referring to. Rasulullah accompanied her on her journey and listened to all the complaints that she made about him, even though she did not know that the person accompanying her was Rasulullah himself. And then along the journey, he would carry her luggage and take her towards her destination. And throughout the journey, she would keep bad-mouthing the Prophet by saying he's a very bad man, he's a magician, he's doing black magic on people, he's forcing them to come towards his way, to stay away from him, stay clear of him. And then when she reached her destination, when she arrived at her destination, she says, now that I'm leaving, what is your name, O young man? And the young man turned around and said, I am Muhammad. To her dismay, she says, you are Muhammad? Whatever I have heard about you, it's all untrue. You are kind. You were accompanying me along my journey while I was bad-mouthing you. I want to follow your religion. To which then she gave the testimony of Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. So Rasulullah first, before openly and publicly declaring his message, he wanted to remove all this from Arabia. So he began to establish it in such a way that he was preaching how to be a human first, how to be kind first, how to appeal to every single member, and then later on tell them that he was a prophet. So from the very onset we say openly that Rasulullah was not a person who reached the age of 40 and all of a sudden thought, oh my God, I'm a prophet, and got scared. No, we establish that Rasulullah was a prophet from the very onset of his creation. It was only that whilst he was at the age of 40 in the cave of Hira, that Jibreel came down and said, oh Muhammad, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has revealed this first verse of the Quran unto you, which was the first verse which was read in the name of your Lord. That was the first verse that was revealed. It wasn't an introduction to prophethood. So this is the very first misconception of Rasulullah that we need to remove. Now Rasulullah reaches the age of 40. Now Arabia was known for burying daughters alive. Let's talk about his relationship with his daughter, the Holy Lady of Light, Sayyidah Fatima Zahra Salamullahi alayha. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Rasulullah treated his daughter in such a way. The very famous one, let's start off by saying we all know that whenever she used to enter a room, Rasulullah used to stand up. He used to kiss her on the forehead. He used to sit her down where he used to sit. So from there we can see that he was showing people that this is how you treat your daughters. Your daughters are a blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Arabia seen daughters in such a way that they were a burden. For example, let's talk about this. Number one, a daughter will not be able to do manual labor. She will not be able to benefit you in terms of your crops or your harvest or your income. And then on top of that, she demands and demands. And then on top of that, what if she wanted to get married to somebody in a different tribe? So a woman was seen as a burden. And unfortunately, it's a shameful history that they used to bury their daughters alive. So Rasulullah came and said, from now on, you will not do this. This is something that will not be allowed. And then from there, how did he show it? Not only did he say, don't bury your daughters alive, treat them with respect and leave her at that. No. Not only did he say that, but then on top of that, he implemented his actions by showing his behavior towards his daughter, Fatimatu Zahra salamullahi alayha. And he showed everybody that this is how you treat a daughter. To the extent that the only person in history, Rasulullah would say to his daughter, Fatima ummu abiha. Fatima is like my mother. The only reason the Prophet would say that was because Fatima Zahra would look after the Prophet with such compassion and mercy as a mother would do to its son. So she would treat her father like that. And that's why the Prophet elevated her. And then he would say, Fatima bad'atu minni. Fatima is a part of me. Now some people say the Prophet said that the Fatima is like a part of me, or that Fatima is a part of my liver, or so on and so forth. There's many different narrations, but no. He said, Fatima bad'atu minni. Fatima is a part of me. So Rasulullah as a whole, Sayyidah is a part of him. So if Rasulullah is a prophet, she's a part of that. If Rasulullah is a mercy upon mankind, she's a part of that. Man ardaha faqad ardani. If you please her, you please Rasulullah. If you anger her, you anger Rasulullah. He's trying to say that she's somehow spiritually connected to me. Which brings us on to the point that those people that injured Sayyidah Fatimatu Zahra salamullah alayha, did they even know what they were doing? Did they even know the wrath of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Did they even fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when they did this? Nonetheless, Rasulullah established, number one, slaves. Bilal was a person that was under let's say he was a slave of one of the kuffar of Makkah. And Bilal was seen in such a way that because he was black, he was treated like this, and it became the norm to him. And when he heard that there is this man called Mohammed that brings a religion in which he says that no white man holds superiority over a black man, or that no rich holds superiority over a poor, or no Arab holds superiority over a non-Arab, this appealed to Bilal. Because Bilal is used to being degraded. Bilal is used to having people say to him, you're black. Therefore, you're a slave, do this, do that, do this. And then all of a sudden he hears that there is a man who's brought a reform in such a way that I am equal to the whites. It came as a new thing to Bilal. And where did the Prophet place Bilal? He placed Bilal as his muaddin, as the person who calls all the Muslims to prayer, by giving him a high position and status within Islam. Risalatul Haqooq, we see that Imam Zain al-Abidin within the treatise of rights talks about the rights of the ear, for example, the rights of the eyes. He talks about the various rights that your body has upon you. And then he speaks about the rights of your family members, then the rights of a brother, father, sister. Then he talks about the rights of a muaddin, the person who calls you to prayer. That person who calls you to prayer in your local masjid or in your local mosque, he has a right upon you. He has certain rights upon you that you need to read about and then make sure you give him those rights. So Rasulullah places Bilal as a muaddin. So he bought this onset, he bought this. He's establishing this religion, but first he's establishing that the fact that people need to be human beings, look after one another, don't have superiority over the other due to race, color, or anything that makes you think that you are better than another person. So he established this. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him the verse. Then he declared his religion openly. Then he migrated towards the city of Medina. Now when the Prophet migrated towards the city of Medina, slowly he started to establish the laws of Islam, the rules of Islam. He started to say to people, now the wajibat, for example, the prayers are obligatory upon you now, O Muslims. Fasting is obligatory upon you. Hajj, if you can afford it, is obligatory upon you. Zakat, khums, these things you need to start giving. So slowly Rasulullah started saying this, and he established in such a beautiful way that one by one more and more people were being drawn towards the religion, and people were seeing that this is not a religion that is forcing you to come to the religion. It was in fact the beauty of the religion that was drawing people towards the religion. And throughout his life, Rasulullah was respected. He was seen in such a way that he was, let's just say, he was in fact the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in human form upon mankind, no doubt. But let's talk about the ending of his life. Let's mention a little bit of the oppression of Rasulullah, something that we don't discuss so openly. I began by saying Rasulullah says, no prophet has suffered the trials and the tribulations that I have. That's indeed true. You see, the Prophet nearing his end, coming back from Ghadir Khum after designating his successor Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam, we notice that the people were already planning what to do after the death of the Prophet. The people were already thinking, now that he's gone, this is what we're going to do, this is what we're going to do. To the extent that, let me give you an example, that Rasulullah, the leader of the Muslims, the mercy upon mankind, at his funeral, do you know how many people were present? Think about this. The mercy of mankind, Rasulullah, the person who brought the religion of Islam to us, the person who established it in such a way that alhamdulillah today there are many Muslims on this world. But how many people were present at his funeral? A handful. The Prophet had 120,000 plus companions, yet a handful were present at his funeral. Is that not saying something? Let's talk about a few incidents nearing his death. The event of the pen and the paper. This is an event that is a very sad history that we have within our religion. That Rasulullah, a few days before he passed away, was laying down on his bed, and Rasulullah would say that, "O my companions, get me a pen and get me a paper. For I want to write down something for you that after me you will never go astray." Yes, after me, that you will never go astray. We know that alhamdulillah, that was going to be the designation of Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib, or it was going to be a continuation from his Masjid Ghadir. But unfortunately, some companions were there that they said, no, hasbuna kitab Allah. The book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is enough for us, we don't need this. And then astaghfirullah, some companions would take it even up a notch. Some companions would turn around and say, Rasulullah is delirious. Rasulullah's gone mad. He doesn't know what he's saying. His state of illness has overpowered him. Hasbuna kitab Allah. We have the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Leave the Prophet alone. Let him rest. I mean, do we not know who you're referring to? This is the man who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, he does not speak unless I have revealed revelation unto him. So whenever Rasulullah opens his mouth and talks, it's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talking. And you're saying that this man is delirious, leave him, he doesn't know what he's saying, let him rest. Hasbuna kitab Allah. We have the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's more than enough for us. They angered the Prophet at that incident to the extent that the Prophet would say, Qumu anni, leave me, leave me. Because a commotion was being arisen by the companions of Rasulullah. Those that claimed to love him were the very ones that hurt him the most. Notice I said claim. Those who claimed to love him were the ones that hurt him the most. Even to the extent that Rasulullah would say, he's ordered certain of his companions to leave the city of Medina and join the army of Osama, because the Muslims were going to go to war with the Romans. And Osama was young, he was at his youth age. So the people objected and said, Ya Rasulullah, Osama is just a young boy, why should he be the commander of the army? The Prophet said, you said the same thing when I ordered Osama's father to be the leader. Who are you to question Rasulullah is the first point. And then the second point is the fact that he's telling you to go, go. But they still didn't leave, to the extent that 2-3 days later that the Prophet himself in his ill state had to leave his bed, come towards the mosque, ascend his pulpit and repeat again, O you who I have told to leave, go and join the army of Osama. Join it. And then Rasulullah mentions a very beautiful point. He says, if I have told you to leave and you do not leave, then the curse of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and my curse is upon those individuals who I have told to leave the vicinity and they have not left. Yet these people still didn't leave. These people remained there. The Prophet would on numerous occasions at his deathbed ask for certain things, and the people again and again and again on numerous occasions would deny it. And it makes you think that this is Rasulullah, the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala upon mankind. He suffered a big oppression. Even after his death, we know everything that happened. In fact, Karbala, they say that Karbala's very onset began at the death of Rasulullah. But we don't say death, we say shahadat, we say the martyrdom of Rasulullah. Because Imam al-Hassan was poisoned by his wife, we know this. Yet we have a riwayat in which Imam al-Hassan has mentioned that the death of me, or the way I was martyred, or the way I was going to be killed, it is the same as Rasulullah. We know that one of the wives poisoned Rasulullah. We know this. We need to get this out. We need to mention this. Rasulullah he did not die a natural death. Rasulullah did not die because of old age. He wasn't even that old. Let's be honest. He died because he was poisoned. And then they counter it by saying, or it was the poison that was given Rasulullah at the Battle of Khaybar. I mean, let's be real for 1 second. Somebody gets poisoned at Khaybar. Look at, throughout Islamic history, look where Khaybar was, and look where the Prophet died. I mean, how long does it take poison to actually take effect? Rasulullah was poisoned, he died, he was martyred, or let's use the words, he was murdered. This is something that we need to tell people in an academic way, of course. That Rasulullah was taken away from this world, not through natural death. Even before he was martyred, throughout his life, especially the last 3 to 4 years of his life, he suffered a lot of oppression. Rasulullah was at a stage where he literally did, every time he would say something, the wives would either not listen to him or the companions would change his words and then portray it towards the people. So this is a very sad oppression that we have of Rasulullah. And Rasulullah was a person who established this religion. He was a person who told the people that this is the religion of Islam. And as opposed to just saying, do this, do that, he did it first, showed people the actions. And then once they knew what the actions were, then he went ahead and did it. So this was a man who deserves 100% recognition for bringing us the religion of Islam, the mercy upon mankind. But at the same time, a man whose musibah should not be hidden. Talk about him, mention Rasul. In fact, I just, as we come to our closing statements, look at the life of Rasulullah. This is a part of history that is not so openly discussed within certain schools of Islam. Open the books of history. I urge you to, number one, look at the event of the pen and the paper. Okay? Don't look at it from a Shia perspective if that's what is something that is, I don't know, appealing you in the other way. Just look at it from a historical perspective, or take your own books for that matter, okay? So number one, look at the event of the pen and the paper. Read about it and find out who was that person that said that Rasulullah, na'udhu billah, is delirious, or that he's gone mad, or that he doesn't know what he's saying. Who was that person in history? It's your job to now go and find out who this person is. First thing. Second thing, when the Prophet was going towards the city of Makkah to perform pilgrimage, and he arrived at Hudaybiyah, and the people within the city of Makkah said to the Prophet, you cannot enter the city. Okay? He said, you cannot enter the city. That's when the Prophet signed a treaty known as the Sulh of Hudaybiyah. At this incident, a person came towards the Prophet and said, are you really a prophet of God? Find out throughout history who this person was. Find out throughout history, number three, that when the Prophet was saying, leave Medina, join the army of Osama, he used to come out of his bed, come into the mosque in the ill state. Why did the Prophet need to do this? You would imagine that a man such as Rasulullah, on his deathbed, is asking for a pen and a paper. You'd imagine that the entire ummah would come there with a pen and paper ready to write. Yet there were certain people there who were planning the future, plotting the future. And this is something that we're going to discuss in the next episode. They were plotting something. They were doing something to justify the end. What was the end? We'll discuss that in the next episode. But look at the event of the pen and paper. Look at Sulh al-Hudaybiyah. Look at the fact that the Prophet is on his deathbed and people are saying he's gone mad. Look at the fact that the Prophet would say, join the army of Osama, and the people wouldn't. They would defy Rasulullah. Look at the fact that Amirul Mu'mineen would say that as I was on the funeral prayers of the Prophet, there was a handful of people there. Yes, the Malaika were there, we accept that. But how many of his companions were really there? Now this raises the final point. If those who claim to love the Prophet and those who claim to be his companions, where were they during his funeral? That's it, that's the question I leave you with. Open your minds to this. Where were they when the Prophet was, or while his funeral was being done? Where were certain individuals? Look at it. Look at them. Where were they? Were they at the Prophet's funeral? If not, why? Why weren't they? Okay, then find out where were they. You know, there's no point me telling you everything. Let's do some research ourselves, inshallah, and guide ourselves towards the straight path. Ihdina as-sirat al-mustaqim, keep us on the straight path. You can only say that if you're already on the straight path. If you're not on the straight path, Allah has given us aql. He's given us something that the other intellects of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or the other creations of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala do not have. Use your aql. Look at the life of Rasulullah. Look at the last 2 years of Rasulullah's life. Look what happened at Hudaybiyah. Look what happened in the pen and the paper. Look what happened when the Prophet was on his deathbed. Look what happened when the Prophet asked for certain things. Look at these things. And inshallah, this will then guide you towards the truth of Rasulullah. So we conclude today's episode of the life of Rasulullah. Remember me in your prayers, inshallah. And while we are here in Karbala, we will be remembering you in our prayers as well. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.